I'd like to welcome Isabelle Meiring. She is a visionary. I call her a spiritual leader, but she's a lot more than that. She's a devoted mom. I invited her because on the podcast show, I tell the inspiring and empowering stories of others. And I believe that if people know your personal story, they can relate to you better, understand you better, and see the human behind the different roles we give ourselves. So thank you so much, Isabel. I'm so honored to have you here.
What a privilege it is to be here. Thank you, Bronwyn. I appreciate your time.
I often do my morning walks, and because I have access to so much of your content, you are often in my ears in the mornings, and your voice is so calm and hypnotic, and I just hope people can feel that calm energy that's going to come from you. I feel like you're a walking encyclopedia in many ways.
It's so true. It's so true. People often say you're a walking mystery school, and I just,
Really?
it's just filed away. It's filed
Mm.
away, and we just
Yeah, so
bring
let's
up
let's
what's needed.
start where I think we should start, which is where your childhood years started, like your early years. How was little Isabel like? Where did she grow up? Who was her family?
Little Isabel was, I think, kicking and screaming from day one. Look, I can go on what my mom,
Mhm.
who I have now a very close relationship with, she would tell me she would leave me at the daycare as long as she could because she just didn't know what to do with me. That
Yeah.
I had a lot of energy. I was
Hmm.
very stubborn. And I just kind of
A bit,
wouldn't take no for an answer. I
a
questioned all
bit
the rules,
rebellious.
obviously.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
that didn't go away. You know, it wasn't just a terrible twos or threes or fours. It just was part of my makeup.
Mm.
I grew up in Stellenbosch, so
Oh.
I've got a huge love for the culture there
Mhm.
and the melting pot of culture there in the Cape.
Mhm.
Um, one older brother as
Okay.
well. But yeah, throughout, and my father was a professor at the
Mhm.
University of Stellenbosch,
Okay.
and my mom a teacher and
Mm.
tour guide at various times.
Yeah.
So I grew up in quite an academic
Mm.
household, which obviously didn't fit my mold either.
Ah.
So I just came to kind of shake things around quite a bit.
Mhm.
Um, but overall, I was a happy child.
Yeah.
Just yeah, I remember the feeling of just always feeling kind of like a bit of an outsider, different,
Different.
different,
Yeah.
you know?
And as you got
Yeah.
older, how did you climatize to what was your outlets, or how did the being different feeling become a bit more normal to you? Did it become normal later on in years?
I
No?
don't think it did, to
Ah,
be honest. I think there's a point where you embrace it, and I
yeah.
think that's naturally what happened after leaving home. But
Mm,
it had to get a whole lot deeper in
mm,
terms of the difference or feeling different,
yeah.
because at 12 years old, we moved to Saudi Arabia.
Ah,
And you can imagine, you
sure.
can imagine this blondie
Mm,
coming into this very, very different country,
mm,
completely Western little Isabel.
mm.
And rebellion even, burned through there, I want to say.
Yeah.
I was even more rebellious when that occurred. Um, and then coming back to South Africa. So that was a culture shock.
Yeah.
And then coming back to South Africa, kind of coming back into high school,
Mm,
it was quite a bridge. It was
mm.
quite a bridge in between, and the conflict in between embracing your difference and wanting to belong,
Yes.
which is something I think a lot of teenagers obviously feel and deal
Yeah.
with, which we have more voice for now, luckily,
Yeah.
and more advocacy for now.
Mm,
That emotional development and identity development and really embracing difference
yeah.
rather than,
Feeling like an outcast. Yeah.
exactly.
Your career path, where did it start? It
Yeah.
spark.
Wow. I was, always into different texts. So anything that had to do with philosophy or astrology or whatever. I remember at 9 years old, I had to sleep over at a friend's house, and I pulled out these books because I couldn't sleep
Yeah.
in the spare room. And I walked into the study, and there were these books that I just started reading them. So I was always interested in philosophy and mythology and God and, something else, just something else, something different. For as long as I can remember.
Something
but
bigger. That's
it's
calling
just
you.
something else, something. And I'd always had this strong connection to whatever that was, for young Isabelle at that point. But obviously, sticking it to the man, I left school as soon as I could, as soon as my parents would let me. And I started working. I tried holistic therapy for a while, did anatomy and biology and physiology, and then just started to work, did kind of whatever I could up until a legal age, and then found some mentors. After reading everything that I could in the public libraries, I went and I found mentors. Some found me in the strangest of places, in kind of energy healing, psychoanalytics, Jungian psychology, you name it. You name
So
it.
you kind of poured yourself into that.
I did, yeah. And then I opened up my practice 14 years ago, and it was everything in one. A lot of it was psychosomatic work. So I would work on the person's body as well as, giving them biofeedback the entire time, until I realized that their body was like an encyclopedia, and I was just getting a whole bunch of information the entire time. So I started very gently diving in deeper, because you don't want to seem woo-woo, especially back then. I mean, it would just seem a little bit
out there.
Upfront, out there, kind of like. But obviously every single time it just began to check out. So I kept going deeper, doing more research, looking for mentors, looking for different certifications, more understanding as to the biology and the metaphysical body. And understanding how it all weaves together. So then I started doing an unpacking integration for clients, so kind of in their fascia or in their field of their body would be a certain occurrence or a certain imprint, an emotion that was stuck, not just one thing, but a succession, so that, that ecosystem of identity and belief, and kind of where that rooted from. So I would start doing unpacking and integration with them over, a number of weeks or months. And when and that was a good few years, which I then coined blueprint therapy. Blueprint therapy. And it was way out then. Like, it was way out in comparison to what was out there. You were either a psychologist or a psychoanalyst, or you were a woo-woo, on the woo-woo side. Person. You couldn't be both. You could not be both. But obviously, the proof was in the pudding. So I kind of, the more and more I went into the deeper layers of each client or person together, the more I saw this natural blueprint, this natural way of functioning that we all have, and it kind of gets, you can't sidestep it. You can only build on top of it. And
how would you describe that natural blueprint if you had to put a sentence to it?
The natural functionality of your energy circuit of your body, and it's designed to thrive. It's designed to be like continually fed, continually overflowing, and within an ecosystem. No one is more significant than the other. But those that know the toroidal field, like the donut shape of energy around the body, it's like a battery. It's like an actual circuit field of a battery. Exactly. And the body is in the center of that, like the core of it. And the more we're able to untangle the way that the body is functioning, not only physically, but emotionally, with a sense of identity, the filter that they are functioning through, the more we're able to restore that.
Right.
Anyway, so that was called Blueprint Therapy.
Yes.
And then I was pregnant with my boy, my eldest. So it was over a decade ago. And then I didn't feel like going to see my clients in person. Because I was standing this giant belly, and I thought, oh no, I don't even want to leave the house at this point. It was
What
about
year
8,
was
9
that,
months.
Isabelle?
2013.
Okay.
And then I said, so I just started having phone conversations and phone sessions,
Right.
But that led to then clients referring me to clients overseas, and and it started going abroad.
Yes.
And went online.
Okay. And that was
And that's
before
where the
COVID.
online thing. Yes.
Before COVID. Wow.
Yeah.
You were ahead of time there.
I was lucky. Yeah. Perfectly timed.
Do you think there was a bigger need for your work overseas than locally at the time?
It's a difficult question as a South African, because we have wonderfully liberal forward thinkers that fully understand, the gravity of the work here.
Yeah.
But I do feel it's valued more.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Overseas.
Probably a little bit of more open-mindedness back then.
Yeah. Yeah. There is, in every place and every way, there's a demographic. Although you can say it helps absolutely everyone, not everybody's ready for it. Correct. And I find more and more that those that are desperate for healing or desperate for a way out, or are kind of seeking that, are often not the ones to follow through and value it as much. And that goes completely counter to what we're taught when it comes to service and demand. But it's the ones that want to grab at it, that are desperate for it, that often don't value it as much, because they feel like it's going to simply be a golden key, something that's done for them. It's not something that you can buy, like a bottle of water, or it's not something that is tit-tat. It's something that one must be ready for within themselves.
You have to become it. It's a process of becoming. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I can ramble on.
And so how did the journey from the online did that mold so again further down the line in your business?
It did. So I remember with my father's death in 2021, 15 July 2021, my dad passed through the veil at the age of 87. And I was a month later at his wake. It took a while for us to organize and get everybody together, into this one place that he really wanted. And I remember lying in the spare room guest bed at my half brother's house that night after the wake. And I just had this deep sadness towards the business. I said, I just can't do this anymore. There was something in me that was just so tired. So tired. It was successful on the forefront.
Yeah.
On paper, everything looked good. It looked amazing. Isabel's living this free, amazing life. She's got her free time. She's her own boss. She's making all this money, doing what she loves. But it was, for lack of a better word, burnout.
Right.
And my dear mom, she carries around this old little leather pouch that has got little printed Bible verses that she puts in there. Now, she made them herself, and she's carried it around for years.
Wow.
Okay, years. So she comes to me and she's like, "What's fun?" And I just said to her, I'm so tired. I don't know if I can do this anymore. I kind of want to throw in the towel, Right. And it's crazy coming from me, because I would just bulldoze through whatever challenges.
Yes.
And so she said, pick one of these, it's a giant stack. Right. I just picked one. And the gist of it was, this verse was, the only I know the plans I have for you. And what I took from, I can't even remember the whole verse,
Yeah.
but what I took from it in that moment was just this, which was, I'm not in the driver's seat. I've been kidding myself this entire time.
Mm.
That business with God, purpose with God, what I call the life force, benevolent life force,
Mhm.
is the recipe. You need to get out the way
Oh.
because trying to, remain in the driver's seat is going to lead to continual burnout.
Mhm.
And what I've taught, and I taught it before, but of course it doesn't click until it clicks,
Yeah, yeah.
You can be the messenger until you're the embodiment, as
Exactly. Then
that
it's a
can
whole
be,
different level, hey? And maybe
yeah,
that was the reason why you had to embody it. You had to experience
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Surrender and then surrender some more and then some more and then even more.
And
It's
then
just,
die. Yeah.
it is. And I
Yeah.
teach it with a
Yeah.
whole heart, 1,000% every single day,
Yeah.
because,
You
and
lived
I
it.
often say to my clients, like, you think you're doing this? Do you really think you're the only one doing this? Like, do you, like, that's such an ego thing that we fall into a lot of the time, the achievements, the accolades, that I've done this, that I've done that. And yes, there's such an importance and self-care and self-recognition. But where does that inspiration come from?
Yeah.
Where do you lay down your heaviness, your issues, your challenges, your everything? I
Mhm.
always say, it's the business or the healing or the purpose that moves through you. It's not you,
Mm.
through you. You're
Mhm.
not in the driver's seat, but you do need to listen and kind of
Mm.
take direction,
Wow,
you know?
that's powerful. And then what
Yeah.
happened? Things shifted a different direction?
Yeah, then I changed it to ascending woman. I decided focusing on women,
Okay.
because so many of us are so, which ascending women still is today.
Mm.
It's women that are here to absolutely lead, to share, to facilitate, to heal,
Mhm.
to run practices and businesses in a different way, and really do kind of like the work of God through their own experience, through their own
Right.
way, through their own purpose.
Gives me chills.
So yeah, yeah.
Important work. It's important work. And where do you feel you're now in your career?
Just the beginning.
Ah, I love it.
Yeah, no, I'm
Love
working on
it.
another book with a rather big publisher at this stage, and
Okay.
I'm kind of everything's moving towards a more of an academy school setting
Right.
when it comes to
It's
my
exciting.
spaces and containers. Yeah,
Mm. I
yeah,
found the other day, I found a memory of a workshop I did with ladies 9 years ago, and it was just like my hobby at the time. And I spoke about feminine and masculine energy in there. But I must say, a couple of
yeah.
years ago, I was listening to one of your transmissions, recordings, meditations, whatever you call it. And for the first time, I made the link of how that translate to the world, to nature, to form and formless, how it's everywhere. And you gave
Mm,
me that really shifted, bigger perspective. And I'm so grateful for that. And I think it just, once you see it, you can't unsee it. I think
mm.
your one book, The Wild Grail, was very much about that. How did that, where did that land for you? Was it years ago that you understood that clearly?
It was always there, to be
Yeah.
honest, but I think it's completely different when you can really articulate it. Like, I
Mm.
mean, even before the God first in business moment, my God moment,
Yeah.
even before that, looking back, I had been teaching about form and formless, masculine and feminine, and just kind of the dance with life
Yes.
and really how to optimally function,
Mm.
energetically, physically, on every level. But I'd never named it as such. I'd never called it masculine, feminine, form, formless, structure,
Oh,
and,
okay. Okay. Yeah.
or soul and body. I'd never
Yeah.
called it that. It
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah. And I think the more and more you go, the deeper you embody something, the simpler it becomes
That's
to
true. That's true.
articulate and
Yeah.
teach.
Yeah.
So that's why when the Wild Grail, that was 20, well, I mean, where did it come out? 2022, I think.
Mm.
3 years now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I loved writing it. It's just, as you know, it's just you can almost open it anywhere and get
Mm.
that kind of aha,
Mm.
because
It's
of the
just
way that's written.
beautiful
All
to
the
see how
yeah.
it's everywhere and how I think even Simon Sinek has a version of the finite and
Mm.
infinite, which is sort of around the same lines, but it just gives you such a broader perspective. Um,
Mm.
Isabel, what is your biggest life lessons, if you had to choose a few?
Well, I mean, there are so many actual
Yeah.
life lessons, but I would say the thread that runs through all of those that pop up is exactly the same. Die willingly. Don't
Mm,
hold on.
wow. Can you
Don't hold
unpack
on.
that?
And I think it's something that so many
Metaphorical
women,
death?
yes,
Yeah.
metaphorical, of course. It's just you are always changing. You cannot hang on to a single thing. And the more you are willing to disidentify with things that you thought made you, that you
Mm,
thought you were attached to, that you thought you were, was going to make you this or that or anything else, or gives you a sense of purpose, the more you're willing to question those or let those die, the more space is made. Space is, if I could put it another way, is like you've got to let go of what's in your hand. Otherwise, nothing can come in. If
mm,
your hands are full,
mm,
you know what I mean?
mhm,
Um, and to continually allow things to move, to continually allow things to remain in motion. Don't hold on too tightly to things, to your identity,
mhm,
to goals, even.
mm.
But follow that which feels spacious, like it makes space in your belly,
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
feel more at ease, like there's more space in your chest. Follow those things.
Mm,
Follow those things. Yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. God and this benevolent life force that is continually moving through you, through all sentient beings. You are never alone.
Mhm,
And often you do just need to get out of the way and
mhm,
put things down.
mhm.
That's continually the lesson.
Now, there
Continually
is an
the
art and a skill
lesson.
to that. What would you say is the number one?
Definitely.
What is the number one skill that you can apply in order to move in that direction more?
Find a phrase or a word within your being that really is able to kind of click a button when you say it or when you think it or when you whisper it,
Mhm.
that lets your being feel really spacious and held. Something simple like, I am held by life.
Hmm.
Something super simple like
Yeah.
that. It just begins to ease the nervous system in that moment. Say you I have a million and one things to do, or the kids are screaming in the back
Yeah.
car, or you're running late for a meeting, or oh, you're getting bull upon bull upon bull, and you're like looking at things. Just take a moment. I'm held by life.
Yeah.
I do nothing alone, because it's the illusion of aloneness that really perpetuates
Yeah.
so much stress and
Yeah.
keeps us in that loop.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, as you say that, I can already feel like calm, calm setting in. And it's like
Yeah.
resetting just your mind back to one sentence that you anchor in.
Mm,
Yeah, makes sense.
mm,
I know that you did a program once where you spoke about the five stages. So I know surrender is one of
mm.
them. Do you mind just highlighting that five stages again, if you can,
Yes,
please? Yeah.
absolutely. And this can work for anyone, for anything. And this is the gates of heaven method, this 5 phase,
Right.
purification. I don't like using the word purification, but it moves you from that space of push, pull, push, pull, push, pull into eventually a space of spaciousness and working with
Mm.
God, working with life, and life
Yeah.
working with you. Um, the first is defiance.
Hmm.
So that is what you push away, what you fear, what you don't want. A
Mm.
lot of people run on that, actually.
Mm.
A lot of people are usually in the first two stages, which I'll show you. Well, not stages, but gates, states. So
Okay.
defiance is gate number 1, what you push away, what you fear, what you don't want. And you'd be surprised how much that fuels people.
So you're constantly running away from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unconsciously, of course.
Unknowingly, yeah.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of energy
Right.
to, keep that up.
Sure.
Then the second gate is acquisition. And you can see that as chasing or acquiring
Right.
or trying to bring in. It's like a grabbing.
Yes, yes.
Come
Chasing,
energy.
chasing. Yeah. Also
Yeah.
exhausting.
Also exhausting. Yeah, because you think it's going to give something to you. You're trying to chase it. So you insinuate that it's not there.
Got it.
So it's either pushing away or running towards the first two gates, defiance or acquisition. Then the third gate, when we put those two down, is surrender. And that's the first experience of that spaciousness. And that's where a lot of people get scared, because all of a sudden they're not attached to what they thought was giving them this fuel. They are not attached or confined by those two charges, this defiance or acquisition, defiance. So they begin opening up to, what does it feel like without those when I put them down? And that is like a little death. Identities fall away here and are birthed here too. But it's a void space that's very necessary.
It's almost like in the eye of the storm. Yeah, you let
exactly.
go. You're letting go of so many things and inviting peace and space. Lovely.
Exactly. And I like to say that's often where you meet God, because you're like, oh, wow, without those things, I'm still here. Didn't die. I'm all good, And then
I would say you can
gate,
actually hear him better. You can actually connect with him better in that space and state. Yeah.
Yeah, all the overwhelm, all the chatter, all the subconscious, continual resistance or persistence is, silence.
Yeah.
It's laid down, and it needs to be done sincerely.
Right.
So that's quite a big one. And notice it's the middle of that path. That's the middle. It's not the end. It's the middle.
Middle. Yeah.
And the fourth gate is sovereignty, where you begin to now tune into, how do I choose from this place to live in this moment or the next or the next? It begins to wire you for benevolence, for joy, for being held. There's positivity. There's a completely different approach from that choice space. So it really is like rebuilding. Yeah. And then the fifth gate, the final one, is union, which is this how is your relationship now with life as a partner, as your partner, life as your partner, reality as your partner, always in synergy, working with you in this union space.
Oh, that's amazing. I know I got that a lot when I read Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, and that is exactly what you're describing in the fourth gate, is exactly moving from beingness to doingness, and because you're moving from how you're being, not what you're chasing. But yeah, it's profound. And then
a bonus is, because you're not exhausted from the continual charges from prior,
pushing and pulling.
There's a huge amount of energy. Everything feels like a different approach. There's a natural rest, a natural motion, a natural, you're not burnt out.
And that's where you find purpose.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
And the last stage, the unity, it's just living with that
union. Union. So that gate 5 is that relationship, and how that has changed. And also the biggie for a lot of women, I speak for women, but in general, men and women, is the deep worthiness that life, that God is literally working with you the entire time, that your reality is working with you the entire time. No exception. No exception.
Sure. Great reminder that we are not alone ever, ever, ever. And what is Isabel's vision for the next few years for yourself, for your business?
Ah, goodness gracious. So my youngest is 4.5, my daughter.
Hmm.
So with her in her foundations of life, really, it really matters to me how I show up and
Sure.
what
Hmm.
she sees in mom and in family and around. Um, so I've been really working differently, creating a lot more spaciousness in the way that I work, in how I
Sure.
record my programs and containers. And a lot of that vision is the full book, which is God in Her Bones. So it's basically the Gates of Heaven methodology, process, and my story. So
Hmm.
that's going to be a whopper
Okay. Is
for
that what you're working on now?
2026.
Okay, cool.
Yes. And then the 9-month certification of the Gates of Heaven process for practitioners,
Mm.
and with mentorship and women that really feel the call to understand how to plug out
Hmm.
of that old way of being and plug into this really God-centered, thriving way of being.
Hmm.
The programs will become more like a school or an
Yeah.
academy
Yeah.
kind of gathering space
Nice.
online. Yeah, and that's the legacy that's just going to keep on building.
Yeah, for your daughter and yeah, for your children.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I can talk to you forever.
I know, I
Thank
could
you.
too.
And it's just your intuition has always been on point since you were little, would you say?
Yes,
Yeah. I mean, it's always grown.
definitely. It's
It's
always
always
grown.
there.
I think
Mm.
it's we all naturally have it, absolutely.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that I know, and I remind myself I do overlook or I forget
Uh-huh.
sometimes, that I've always had this really clear, super clear kind of like home connection to
Mhm.
God or to nature or to whatever. Like it's always been there.
Yeah.
And I've never felt alone in that way.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't have that.
Mm.
It's not a given in terms
Mm.
of that's not the way that they are
People are wired.
living,
Yeah.
yeah, or wired. And I forget that sometimes. So it's really continually bringing that in for people in
Mm.
any way that I possibly
That's
can,
true.
you
And
know.
some people spend
Mm,
their entire lives trying to get it, or either sadly doesn't get it, and
mm.
just miss out on a fulfilling, joyful, peaceful life. And I think that's the purpose of life is to find it and to evolve. And thank you so much for helping others do that in your unique and special way. I think you are in a lane of your own. And I just wish you well. And I'm so honored to always have a connection to you.
And to you, goodness gracious, your work's absolutely incredible. And thank you for
Oh.
walking into the rooms that you do and working with the people that you do. It's
Kicking
so
and screaming
necessary.
sometimes.
Magic.
Thank you, Isabel.
Yeah.
I
Thank
appreciate
you so
you.
much, Bronwyn.
Looking forward
You
to
too.
putting this out. Thanks.
Wonderful. Lots of
Bye.
love. Bye.